Hello everybody! In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these wonderful mini mushrooms, perfect for keychains, random acts of crochet kindness, mini claw machines, whatever you want to use them for. So let's get started. We're going to need our yarn in the cap color. I'm using red for this part. And you're going to need to make your foundation ring. I am using a magic ring for my foundation ring. If you prefer to use a slip knot, that works too. And you're going to single crochet 6 times in your foundation ring like I am doing here. Now if you do decide to use the magic ring, make sure you secure your tail because you don't want this to unravel on you later. And now we are going to increase in every stitch around. There's a rooster. We're going to increase in every stitch around until we have 12 stitches. So single crochet twice in each stitch. And now I'm going to use my stitch marker so I don't lose my place. And for the next round, I'm going to single crochet once in the first stitch and increase on the second. And I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So I will single crochet one time. And in the next stitch, I will single crochet twice. And I'll just repeat that pattern until I have 18 stitches total. And now I'm back to where I started. There's my stitch marker, and I know that I am ready to start my next round. For round 4, what I'm going to do is single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then increase on the third. So I'm going to go all the way around, single crochet once, and then increase until I have 24 stitches total. I'm struggling a little bit, bear with me. So for rounds 5 and 6, it gets a little easier. We're just going to single crochet once in each stitch. So just crochet normally, 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 2 rounds, and then we will be done with the mushroom cap. I'm not going to need this color anymore when I finish this round, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it off. I'm going to fasten it off with a slip stitch to give it a smoother edge. So when you've gone around twice, finish with a slip stitch, and then you're going to cut your tail and drag it through that last loop, and we can fasten that tail off later the same way we do with a magic ring so that we don't have a big bulky knot. With a project this small, you really want to avoid big chunky knots. Now I'm going to work in the back loop only for the next round. If you look at the top of your stitches, you'll see a little letter V. The side of that V that is closest to us is called the front loop, and the side that is farther away from us is called the back loop. Normally we use both of these loops, but for the next step we're going to use just the back loop. So make sure that you're using the back loop on this step or your mushroom isn't going to have quite the right shape. I'm going to join my stem color in now, and there are so many different ways to join yarn that I really hesitate to tell you how to do this. Just go ahead and use whatever method you're most comfortable with. And once you get it joined, you can see there I'm doing a little loop and pulling the tail through to secure it. And now I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. Of course, I'm working in the back loop only, like I said before. And then I'm going to decrease. And for this pattern, I am decreasing by single crocheting 2 stitches together. So I start a single crochet in the first stitch, I start a single crochet in the second stitch, and I finish them at the same time to decrease. I'm going to take this opportunity now to secure my tail, so I wrap the tail from my cap around the white yarn, get it on there nice and secure, and that should be enough to prevent it from unraveling in the future. So just continue around, single crochet once in the back loop, and then decrease until you have 16 stitches total. So crocheting in the back loop has allowed the stem color to fold in a way that crochet normally doesn't like to do. But now we want our mushroom to fold down. We want the stem to go straight down. So I'm going to start crocheting in the front loop only. And I don't have to increase or decrease. I'm just going to single crochet once in the front loop of each of these stitches until I've gone all the way around. I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker on here so that you can see where the round begins and ends. But you may already be able to tell just by feeling your project, and that's okay too. For the next 2 rounds, you need to single crochet once in each stitch. So we won't be adding or taking away any stitches for the next 2 rounds. We're just crocheting once in each stitch. So there we can see we've got a pretty good mushroom shape. We've got a little bump where we joined. I'm just going to make sure that's on the back of my project, and I'm going to add my eyes to the opposite side. First though, I'm going to stuff some fluff up into the mushroom cap. Don't try to stuff the whole thing just yet, or the stuffing's going to fall out while you're trying to close it. And then once I have that stuffing in there, now I'm ready to add some safety eyes. Again, I want to put them on the opposite side from that bump. I'm going to put them between rounds 8 and 9, and I'm going to put about 3 stitches between them. But if you don't like the way that looks, feel free to move them around and try different looks. It's okay to experiment. As always, make sure your safety eyes are exactly where you want them before you snap these washers on, because once that washer is on, it's not coming off. Give it a little test to make sure it's snapped on there securely, and we are ready to finish our little friend. Now we're ready to crochet the last round, and I'm going to be working in the back loop only again so that it turns straight in and we get a nice flat bottom. So I'm going to work in the back loop only, and I'm going to decrease with every stitch. So I'm going to single crochet 2 together 8 times, and that will form the very last round for this project. So now we're going to fasten off, but we're going to leave a very long tail. It may seem a bit excessive, but you'll understand why here in a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and just pull that tail through my last loop, and you can see I still have a gap right there. My last round isn't completely closed. I'm going to use that to finish stuffing the stem, because if you remember, I only stuffed the cap earlier. I couldn't stuff the stem until it was mostly closed up. Now I can thread this ridiculously long tail onto a yarn needle, in theory anyway. Let's try giving ourselves a cleaner edge there. Maybe this will work better. And once I have that yarn on my yarn needle, I can weave it through my last round of stitches using a running stitch. So I come out through the first stitch, and then I go back in through the next. And I'm going to do that in every stitch going around until I'm back to where I started. It's very important that you use a running stitch for this, by the way. A whip stitch won't work as well, so if you don't know the difference between a running stitch and a whip stitch, it's a useful skill to have, and I definitely recommend learning that. So now I'm back to where I started. I'll do it once more for good measure. And now when I pull the tail tight, it cinches it closed, makes it look just like my beginning round. Now I'm going to guide the needle through the body of the mushroom, come out through the cap. It doesn't really matter exactly where, but wherever you bring it out, that's going to be where you put your first spot. And then use this ridiculously long tail to embroider some spots on top of your mushroom. I'm using little X's. I think the little X just looks cute, but you can use whatever embroidery technique you want to use. And just add a little spot wherever you feel like a little spot needs to be. Once you have enough spots on your mushroom, we need to fasten off this tail so that nothing comes undone later. Again, we want to avoid big bulky knots though, so I'm going to guide my needle down to the bottom, and I'm just going to very gently tie a small knot. Nothing huge or chunky, just a very basic knot. And then I'm going to guide my needle back up through the mushroom. I'm going to pull this tail taut, so it's just a little bit tighter than it needs to be, and cut it off really close to where it disappears into the stuffy. And now when I give it a squeeze, the tail disappears. And that's it. Our mushroom is done. Good job.